Alright, Shalom. This is Hara 1 by Yasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp. I want to say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Harakakwadash, Ma'amaf. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and the elders. Shalom to you, Akim, and Nagawati, my children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. There's going to be a quick lesson dealing with Revelations 20, where it speaks about Esau coming out of the pit, all right, and being loose for a little season. Put a couple, two or three precepts together to go with it. This is Revelations 20, all right. Revelations 20 and verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand, all right? And we know that angel is Yahushua, all right? And now that angel also uses men, all right? Now it says, let me get something real quick, all right? Because this angel had a great chain in his hand. This is Revelations 1 and 18. I am he, this is talking about Yahushua, I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys to hell and death, man. All right, so the Lord can put you in bondage or take you out of bondage. All right, Yahushua has that power, and he's the one that's going to deliver us from this hell that we're in, and deliver us from death. All right, twofold, from sin, being dead as a nation, and also death, meaning this condition that we're in. All right, also sin. So now Revelation 20, it says and I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit, right? And a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on that dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, man. All right, so this was a vision that was given to John the Revelator, all right, of this devil, Esau, being bound up for 1,000 years. All right, and this prophecy came true. You know, I think John the Revelator was around 75 or so BC. All right, I mean it's like an AD. All right, on the Isle of Patmos, and then you have he said a great chain in his hand. Let's go to the next verse. And cast him into the devil, which is who? Esau. We know that according to the dragon, which is the Roman Empire, right? Or those Edomites that run the Roman Empire. Those elites. Then you can read it, Revelation 12 and 3, and also Revelation 6, about Esau being deaf in hell and the devil, you know. But the Lord said what? He bound Satan, the adversary, for 1,000 years, man. And this really happened. He bound him up for 1,000 years. The Lord used the Vikings and different nations and parts of their empire to bring down the Roman Empire, all right? There was a lot of revolts going on. And because of that, you had something called, during that you had something called the Common Era, which was when it was called the Commons, when anybody could become a ruler, you know, or an emperor. They wasn't worrying about color back then. They were worrying about your beliefs. They called you Jews, or they called you Romans, you know, Greeks, you know, things like that. But in this society, I think it was around 1488, if I'm not mistaken. All right, I think Pope Gregory the VIII I could be wrong on the Gregory part, but I think so. You can check on it. He was the one that really established that system of racism, the system of the what you call Edomite supremacy. All right, based upon color. He was sold 1,000 Jews from the Catholic Church or from the Roman Empire, and he received those Israelites, you know, and they started the slave trade a few years later. Now, so right here it says, let's get to it again, verse 3. And he cast him, the devil and Satan. So the Lord called these people the devil and Satan, the dragon, the old serpent. All right, the dragon is the Roman Empire, all right, the EU today, which is the devil and Satan, so the deceivers and the adversaries, and bound him 1,000 years, man, and cast him into the bottomless pit that's over there in Europe, and they were put into a low degree, just like we are today. All right, even worse than that, you know. And then the Vikings came up in there, and it was called the sack of Rome around 410 A.D. But what started that process was after Domitian. See, the Lord prophesied about Titus and Vespasian coming in there around 70 A.D. and tearing down our temple and scattering, casting us out of there, out of Jerusalem, out of Israel. You know, and then after Domitian, you had somebody named Nerva. All right, Nerva started ruling around 98 A.D. to the first century A.D. All right. So then after that, you had who? Around the first century A.D. to around 193 A.D. to 200 A.D. Anno Domino, meaning the year of our Lord, Yahushua. You had Septimius Severus come into rulership. All right, and he was actually kind of voted into rulership. I think he wanted to annex Britain to the Roman Empire. All right, and he was it was a bunch of lieutenants and generals that rose up against the emperor at that time, and he stepped in and destroyed them, and he kind of took the power seat around that time. All right, mind you, again, it was the time of the commons where it wasn't based upon color, you know. So if you had a certain status, you can be an emperor or a ruler. All right. Now through that you had Nerva, you had Septimius Severus, and that was around the 2nd century. All right. A.D. Now 200 or so A.D. Now from there you get 1,000 years. It takes you to the 12th century A.D. and that'll take you to the time of the Ottoman Turks. So they started falling around the 2nd century, you know, after Nerva, and then going into Septimius Severus, and which led all the way up to 410 A.D., which is ultimately the demise of the western leg of the Roman Empire through, the sack of Rome. All right. And that's what this is. The picture in the background deals with the sack of Rome when it completely fell and it was taken over by the Vikings. All right. And Esau ran up into the Caucasus Mountains. It ran up into those mountains up there. All right. So now you have. So let's read it again. And verse 3. And he cast him into the. And he bound him 1,000 years, man. So he bound him up for 1,000 years from the 2nd century all up to the 12th century. That's when they started what? Coming out of the northern parts of Europe, out of the caves, and they started coming back and taking over Constantinople, which was ran by Jakes, the Israelites, so-called Negroes. It was ran by Constantine. They came back. By the time he died, they came back and took that area. All right, around 1266. A.D. All right, so about 1,000 years later, just like the scriptures say. All right, and they started something later called the Renaissance period in the 1400s, which is the rebuilding of the Roman Empire, the rebirth. You had Cesare Borgia, you had the iconoclasm. They started tearing down the icons of our people, and and so on and so on. So that's what this is talking about. And they've gone out to rule for a little season. What did the Lord say? He said, "What 1,000 years is as." Let me get that. All right, in Peter's, I think it is. Oop, 1,000. All right, so this is 2 Peter 3:8. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing. That one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, man. And 1,000 years as one day. So 1,000 of our years is like one day to the Lord. So that 1,000 years, right? And then them being loosed on the earth since then, since the 12th century, to deceive the nations. Right? So that's what the Lord stopped them from deceiving. Right? That's what Esau was created for. They're the sword of the Lord, which is chastisers. All right, just like the Lord left the Philistines in place to chastise our nation if they went off. Just like we represent the sword of the Lord on the right hand side, the righteous side. All right, Esau is also a whipping stick, a sword that the Lord used against our nation. Now, so he said what? They've been ruling and taking over ever since the 12th century as well. All right, since they came out of the damn caves, man. Again, out of out of those mountains that they were ran into and they were put on the low degree over there in Europe. And they started rising back up, the rebirth. And next thing you know, they've been ruling ever since. So what's this? 12th century, 1,000 years later, 2,000. So it's been at least like 2,000 something years. So but the Lord said what? That 1,000 years to him is as a day. So it's like just a small season, man. This is nothing. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. So all the elect gonna come to repentance. The number, right? So it says that all should come to repentance. Now, who is that? All the world? No, he's talking about all the world of Israel. All right. That's right, man. Where is it at? Here you go. 2 Ezra 2:40. Take thy number, O Zion, and shut up those that be clothed in white, which have fulfilled the law of the Lord. And to fulfill the law of the Lord is through Yahushua, and also to have faith in Yahushua. This is the law now, and through Yahushua we're gonna keep the laws towards our brethren. All right. The number of thy children whom thou longest for is fulfilled. Beseech the power of the Lord that thy people, which have been called from the beginning, may be hallowed. All right. So the Lord is going to complete that. All right. So a certain number got to get woken up to this truth. The elect, 144,000 and 1/3. They got to get woken up to this truth, and then that's it. This is done. All right. He said 1,000 years to the Lord is as one day. So he's not slack concerning his promise, but he's what? Long suffering to us until all that full number come into the repentance, turn back to him. All right. So now, let me get one more. Hold up. All right, for Psalms 90:4. For 1,000 years in thy sight, so 1,000 years in the Most High's sight, because he sees time. Us, we exist within the barriers of time upon this earth, just like the grass and the trees and the flowers and the bees and the animals. They exist in the realm of time with this flesh. all right, grows old just like the grass. All right, the sun rises and sets upon it as we have time, day one, day two, hours of the day, so on and so on. But the Most High exists outside of that. He's called the Ancient of Days, all right? Before days and time even existed. He created it. Yahweh Shem Shai. Psalms 90 and 4, for 1,000 years, all right? So it's been a couple thousand years since Esau's been ruling this world. After they fall and then they rose again. All right, before that they were running things too, but with Alexander and all them. For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night. So it's just like a watch in the night. When Esau ruling, that's like it's just a watch in the night. That's it. It's short season, man. So now let's get back to this real quick. Revelation 20. All right. Hope my phone will start working. I'm tripping. Yep. We'll get Revelation 20. All right. It says here, Revelation 20 and 3, and the Lord cast him into the bottomless pit. So that's over there in Europe. All right. And shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, man, until the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. All right. So after that 1,000 years, around the 12th century, that's when the Lord did this. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. All right, so he's loosed for a little while. This is a small season. All right. He's loose for a small season. Esau upon this earth, running rampant all over the damn earth. All right. It's just for a small season, man. Let me get this real quick. So now it says here, I'm not gonna get that one actually. I'm gonna keep on rocking. So it says this, verse 4, and I saw thrones. So yeah, so Esau's been loose for a little season after that. All right. So now it says this. Let's go down to verse 7 just to get to the point. All right. Verse 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, all right, so now if you read, I'm going to read it, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. So John also saw a vision of the kingdom, all right? Because Revelation skips around. So he was told to speak about the things which he saw before, which the things he saw at that present, and which the things he visioned in the future. So he saw this as well. I saw thrones. So he saw the elect of Israel sitting on thrones, and they that sat upon them. So he saw himself basically sitting on the throne, and judgment was given unto them. All right, they're gonna be what? Man, that time coming, man. It's at the door. The way they're gonna rule. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahweh, man. So he saw those same spirits that were beheaded around his time when he was on the earth. He saw them same people sitting on thrones. All right. Now it says this, and for the word of Yahweh, which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither have received his mark upon their foreheads. So they're the same ones that are set up today that are not going to receive that MOTB, all right? Or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Yahweh Shai 1,000 years. So they're going to usher in the kingdom of Yahweh Shai. They're going to be the first fruits that usher in the kingdom and get to execute those judgments upon Esau for 1,000 years. After that, They're going to continue to rule forever and ever and ever and ever. All right, continuously. It's going to be the present. All right. It's going to be something called always, eternity. That's going to be the elect or the children of Israel's existence under Yahweh Shem Shai. All right, after that 1,000 years. Now, before that 1,000 years, you're going to have the elect and the 1/3 ushering in the kingdom with Yahweh Shai and rebuilding it. But the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. So the rest of the nations, they're going to get some type of living in Yahweh Shai's kingdom. These nations like Elam, the Africans, the Arabs, but Esau are going to be wiped off the earth after 1,000 years. All right, so after that, these other nations, they're going to get some type of normalcy, But the rest of the dead nations, these heathens, they live not again until the 1,000 years were finished, man. So they're going to be non-existent until then, getting their ass whooped. This is the first resurrection, man. All right, so that's the ushering in the kingdom, the first resurrection of Israel. Blessed and holy is he that have part in the first resurrection. On such the second death have no power, man. So on the elect that was sitting on thrones, that got executed for Yahweh Shai 2,000 years ago or so, they're going to not receive Esau's MOTB, and they're going to take part in the first resurrection, and the second death, which is those missiles in the lake of fire, that destruction is not going to have any power over them. All right. But they shall be priests of Yahweh and of Yahweh Shai, and shall reign with him 1,000 years, man. So they're going to be priests of the Most High now, and of Yahweh Shai, all right? Two separate entities, Father and Son, and shall reign with him in the kingdom 1,000 years, all right? And continuously, if you understand the scriptures. It's not going to end at the 1,000 years, They're going to be eternal. But it's about that reigning in of the kingdom. That's the ushering in of Yahweh Shai's kingdom. And that's very important. And when the 1,000 years are expired, so now it's going back to the beginning. All right, so he said he saw this vision of the kingdom, but now he's going back to verse 3. And when the dragon was cast into the bottomless pit for 1,000 years, all right? So he's saying after that, now he's going back to that, verse 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, all right, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. So the adversary is going to be loosed out of their stronghold that the Lord put on them, their prison, over there in Europe. All right. So they were loosed upon this earth. Now, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. So now they've gone out to deceive the nations, paying for both sides of the wars, manipulating the wars, World War I, World War II, all the way up to what? World War III, where they hope to usher in a new world order. And they're going out to deceive, being the devil, the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. That's what we call World War. Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle. All right, Russia and Eurasia, all those nations. All right, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. All right, so you see that? So now, that's the understanding on Revelation 20. Esau being let loose upon this earth for 1,000 years. All right, I mean after 1,000 years, So the Lord held them up from deceiving the nations for a little while, and then after that 1,000 years, they were loosed upon this earth around 1266 A.D. The Ottoman Turks started taking down the Byzantine Empire and started something called a rebirth. Basically, them damn Edomites. All right. Now let's get a couple scriptures to finish this off. Let me see. We got some. Let's get John. Let's get John 14 and 30. All right. John 14:30. Hereafter I will not talk much with you, for the prince of this world cometh and have nothing in me. All right. So Yahushua was speaking about Vespasian and Titus. All right. Titus and Vespasian. That they're the prince of that world. Which was that? The nighttime. You know, the prince of the night. The prince of the wicked world that was coming into power. The Roman Empire and Esau's rulership. All right. So these Edomites represent that, the darkness. So the Lord was telling us about these heathens, how they were going to rule for a little while. And the prince of this world was going to take over around 70 AD. But right after that, Titus and Vespasian, you had Domitian. After Domitian, you had Nerva, all right, which was a Jake, an Israelite. After Nerva, you had Septimius Severus, and then the Severus dynasty. All the way up to Constantine. Around, I think, 313, he came into power. You know, he established Sunday pagan, started mixing in the pagan idolatry with our beliefs and established Christianity as the main religion for government and political gain. That's why he did it. So he wasn't a full believer in Yahweh Shem Yahushai, you know. And he helped establish which was called the Nicene Creed, which is the basis and foundation of all the churches in America today that call themselves Christians. We're not supposed to be called Christians, we're Israelites, all right? So these churches, they're under 501c3 charter, and they're under the mindset of that paganism, all right? So now, back to the point. He said, what? Hereafter I will not talk much with you, so the prince of this world is coming. And that's what that happened in 70 AD. So the Lord was kind of telling us that it was the kingdom was not going to arrive when he was on the scene. He was telling us that the devil was going to take over, and you know, and something had to happen after that. What's that? Revelation 20. All right. So Mark 14, 13. 13 and 14. Mark 13 and 14. But when ye shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, right? Daniel spoke of the abomination of desolation way back in the 6th century BC. All right? And he spoke about Titus and Vespasian coming in there and invading Jerusalem, setting up idols to the pagan demon, pagan idol Zeus, which goes back to Baal, you know, Baal, which is nothing but idolatry, all right? So he said what? So that same one, which was those Titus and Vespasian, those Edomites, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, saw them standing where they ought not. So they were standing in Jerusalem, all right? Let him that readeth understand, and let them that be in Judea flee to the mountains. So the one that understood, they fled to the mountains, the hills of Judea, all right? But the idiots, like Sakari, they ran to the wrong direction. They ran to, what was that, Masada? All right? Which is in the opposite direction. So let's get this real quick. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 7. So now, the Lord was telling us in the spirit and through prophecy that the kingdom was not yet, you know, that these things had to happen first. All the way up to Revelation 20, he even came to reveal that to John, like, yo, this ain't it. You're going to prophesy again in the future. And the Edomites were bound by Yahushua, and the Most High rules from the kingdom of men and giveth it to whomsoever he will. All right. And they said, what? He was gonna let them take back over and be his sword upon the earth, man, and live out Esau's blessing. All right, to gain the fatness of the earth, and to grow as a nation, so they can be judged in these last days and go into slavery. All right. Now, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 7. For the mystery of iniquity doeth already work. Only he that now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. All right. So the mystery of iniquity, the mystery of the wicked. All right. And he got to be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed. So they can get taken out of the way at any time. Look what the Lord did after the mission. He took them down like it was nothing. He bound them up for 1,000 years. So he's going to take them out of the way again forever. All right, they shall not rise again, nor fill the face of the earth with cities again, ever again. All right, and they shall study war no more. But they're going to beat their swords into pruning hooks so they can be farmers, slaves. And then shall that wicked be revealed. So the wicked is being revealed now through their actions and ultimately through the prophecies, through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, through the prophets out here teaching. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So he's saying that same wicked that was around back then during the Roman Empire, they're going to be here in the last days, and Yahweh Shai is going to destroy them. That goes with 2 Ezra chapter 6, where it says Jacob going to pull them down by the heel, just like Daniel chapter 2. A stone shall strike them in the foot. All right? And that stone is Yahweh Shai. And that's a prophecy saying in the last days, the same one that bound them with the chain, he's going to bind them up again. That they cannot deceive the world no more. That they can't be loosed upon this earth. They're going to be bound in prisons and put in the pit. After many days they shall be visited, and they're going to be burned up after 1,000 years. I won't say burned up, but they're going to be destroyed after 1,000 years. All right? So now it says this, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan. So that goes back to Revelation, as we read earlier. These heathens, with all his deceivableness, who is the devil and Satan, that old serpent. Now it says this in the dragon, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. So they're being consumed now, being revealed with the spirit of the Lord's mouth, the spirit of truth and prophecy. All right, the light is shining in the darkness, exposing the wicked. And shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So, and he's going to destroy them with his glory when he shows up, with his power. All right, Yahweh's going to send Yahweh Shai. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved, man. All right, so yeah, man. That was the focus dealing with Revelations 20. How the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, is the angel. Yahweh Shai is the angel that bound them for 1,000 years, and he's going to bind them up again. All right, the rich man is going to lift up their eyes in hell, and sorrow upon this earth, in slavery. So the Lord going to bind them up, man. He's going to bind up the strong man. These damn heathens. All right, so yeah, that's a quick understanding how Esau was loose for a little season upon this earth. All right, to live out that prophecy, to live out Esau's blessing upon this earth and chastise the children of Israel, and to ultimately get judged in these last days. All right, to go out into what? To lead them into perdition, and to lead these people into the war, World War III. All right, so with that, I'm going to say shalom.